Welcome to Season 2 of the Get Out of Teaching podcast, presented by Larksong Enterprises. I'm your host, Elizabeth Diakos. On the show, we'll look at the who, what, where, why, when, and how of moving out of your education career and into a life you love. In this season, we'll meet ex-teachers who have taken their hobbies and passions from outside of education and created a new career for themselves. We'll talk to people who can support and inspire us as we make the transition and work on identifying the legacy we want to leave in the world. So come along for the ride as we get out of teaching. What keeps you in teaching when you'd rather leave? I'm sure it won't surprise you to learn that financial pressure is a major reason. That's why today's show is sponsored by Chris Carlin, financial planner and mortgage broker from Master Your Money Now. Chris is not about taking excessive risks that you're not comfortable with. He's really careful to help you understand the relationship between risk and return, and his fees are very reasonable. Chris can help you sort out your cash flow, pay down debt, and plan your financially strategic exit from teaching, making sure you take care of everything you've worked so hard for. Chris understands personal insurance cover too and can help you make a successful claim so that you don't have to deal with the insurance company yourself. A huge relief if you're feeling stressed and overwhelmed by money concerns. He can even help you plan for retirement. With over 9 years' experience in the finance sector, Aussies from all around the country have trusted Chris to help plan their financial futures. Chris Carlin cares for the caring professions, teachers and nurses, helping you to shore up your financial resources so that you'll be in a good position to leave when you're ready. Go to masteryourmoneynow.com.au to book a free 30-minute chat with Chris Carlin and master your money now. Hi everyone and welcome to the show. On today's show, I'm very pleased to be speaking with Coach Renee Lopez. Thanks for coming on the show today, Renee.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
All right, so tell us your story, Renee. What got you into teaching in the first place?
Well, it's interesting. I went in and did my undergrad in elementary education, and I actually started to teach, third, fourth, fifth grade, and I was even student teaching during September 11th, which was a little bit crazy, of course, but I got into teaching and I didn't love it. It was crazy. I thought I was going to because I'd always been coaching youth sports and things like that. I'd been working summer camps and things like that, and I just got into it. I didn't really love it. And all of a sudden I had a degree and I was thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with this degree? And I had also started coaching more at the high school level and had decided instead that I wanted to kind of make a shift into coaching college. And I went to coach college for 14 years. And now I do a little bit something different. And what that is I stepped out of college coaching and working in education, working in colleges and in schools. And now what I do is I teach kids about the college recruiting process and how to get athletic scholarships in order to go to play in college. Because in the States, you want to be able to go to college, hopefully for free or a little bit discounted instead of having to pay tons of money to go to school for college or university. And so what we do is we try and teach them the process of what it is. And so that was part of it. And we also wrote a book in the past few years too. So that has been a crazy shift, but working in education in schools, but now I actually work with kids and families and I love what I do every day.
So you initially were like a sports coach. Yes. And now, so we don't really have quite that system here in Australia, but I understand there's so basically what you're doing is helping kids qualify for a scholarship. Is that right?
For athletics specifically, yes. So we teach them what to do, how to contact college coaches, how to do the right things on social media and make sure they don't do the wrong things on social media. Okay. We teach them all the ways of to put a video together to get noticed by a college coach and all those types of things. And so what we did was, interviewed 65 college coaches and athletic directors to create my book, which came out just a few months ago. And what we did was, thank you. It was definitely quite a feat after interviewing 65 college coaches and athletic directors, and scheduling those interviews for sure was quite a bit of work. But we put that all together, and basically to provide an insider's perspective. So all these people, a lot of them are friends of mine, just from different colleges throughout the United States and from different levels and from 19 different sports. And so we put all that together, and now I do recruiting education. A lot of what I do now is webinars. I do some stuff in high schools and in sports clubs, but also consulting individually with families. And I run a lot of Facebook groups, and also have over 40 blogs on my website to help kids with the college recruiting process.
Wow. So are you, who would you say you're now? Who's your target market? Is it a family? Is it a school, like a high school or a secondary school? Like who are you? Yeah.
It depends. It actually depends. Sometimes I'll go and speak. There's a couple times just right before all this happened with coronavirus. We would go into an area, we'd speak in 3 or 4 different high schools or secondary schools in an area, and where they would bring the parents and teachers and other sports coaches for the high schools together. Otherwise, sometimes there's just individual families that will contact me, and they just want to be a part, want me to be doing some consulting with them and walk them through the process. And just from an insider's perspective, because it's a very competitive market, and people really want to get athletic scholarships, but they don't know what to do. And if they're not being told what to do, a lot of times they make a lot of mistakes, and they say the wrong things to college coaches, which actually ends up shifting them the wrong direction. So I just do a lot of consulting, and I do a lot of advising with them and trying to walk them through the process and teach them what to do and what not to do.
So tell me, what would be the wrong things to say that's not really obvious? Like here in Australia, I think you'd be great at, especially the social media thing, because we have some footballers who do some really dumb stuff. And it's like, come on, guys, really? Did you think that was a good idea? What were you thinking? So what advice, what would be an example of something that may not be obvious that you could do wrong that would, take you out of the running for a scholarship like that?
Well, I think there's 2 major mistakes that people make. One is they expect that college coaches are just going to find them because they're a talented athlete, as opposed to initiating the conversation with college coaches via email and social media and things like that. And I think a lot of people sit back and say, I'm talented. They're going to know who I am. I'm in the newspaper or such, as opposed to realizing, but they don't know you're interested in your school, that school specifically. And so they often sit back thinking all these offers are just going to come to them, as opposed to they need to go and put in the work in order to get seen and to get noticed by those college coaches. So I think that's the first mistake. The second mistake that people make, especially student athletes, especially when we're talking teenagers, they tend to put some things on social media that are not in their best interest. And so you look and you say, okay, guys, if what you're about to post on your social media, whatever it is, whatever platform you're using, whether it's Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or, TikTok or something like that, would it be okay for a pastor to read? Would it be okay for the principal or the headmaster of your school to read?
Yeah.
Would it be okay for a coach or admissions director for the college to read what you're going to say? And so often they also get tagged in pictures from their, from their friends, and they may be doing something that is not appropriate. And so oftentimes they don't even realize that college coaches are looking at their social media before they may have even talked to that student athlete. And so it's something that we really work on in teaching, not only with the families, but also I work with trying to teach the teachers and coaches who are around them to help us out and make sure that they're not doing anything stupid, which kind of shoots themselves in the foot. And so we want to make sure that we help them through that process. So that's what I do a lot of. I do a lot of consulting and a lot of help and walking through the process.
Sounds like it's a really valuable, having that service. So obviously if someone got in on a scholarship, this is going to save the family a lot of money. And also
Thousands.
presumably a lot of student loan debt down the track as well.
Yes, thousands and thousands of dollars. I teach them, I say, I can't guarantee you a scholarship because, it's obviously the coaches who award those, but I
Mm.
say, if you follow the plan that I know how to follow because I was a college coach and I
Yeah.
interviewed 65 college coaches, we put this all together in order to be able to help families. And we have over one of our Facebook groups has over 10,000 followers in it. And we're constantly sharing exciting news. Just today, I actually had two families who got committed to schools in the midst of all this going on with the coronavirus, and they hadn't even they hadn't been to the campuses yet and stuff like that, and so they're doing all the virtual tours and talking on the phone with the coaches.
Mm.
And just two today just committed, so it's exciting. And it's still teaching them the process of what to do, and we just want to help them through it and make sure they're taking the right steps. And so it's something I've been able to take out of my passion for really helping students. My passion is to add value to people. How can we help them?
Mm.
And my passion is really to be in a situation where we can help change their lives. And let's be honest, whether they play their sport for 4 years in college or not, I want them to get education, because we all know that that's going to change your life for sure.
Yeah.
If you get a college degree, for a lot of families, especially inner city schools where maybe basketball or another sport may be the way out, the ticket out for them to get to their family life to a different level.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And like talking to a lot of teachers, I know often they are still in their late adulthood crippled by debt. So imagine like having decades of no debt. That would make a massive difference. So that I imagine then that your service is like a high ticket item, because you're going to potentially save hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, we try to keep, obviously I have my book that came out. It's called Looking for a Full Ride, an Insider's Recruiting Guide. Well, I'm sure we'll put some information out there for you
Yeah.
guys. But you can find that at lookingforafullride.com. And we do keep that to being relatively affordable for families, just to be able to get some insider's perspective. And I do have 40 free blogs on my website. That's rlopezcoaching.com. You can find that information. But then, yes, absolutely. When we do consulting, we obviously have different specials we run and be able to help families. And we do all those via Zoom and video conferencing. So I do have some clients all across the world. And then I have many of them here in the US, across many different time zones. And I think my consulting has about quadrupled since the coronavirus has happened. So we are definitely trying to help as many families as we can and save as many dollars as they can, as a lot of families have lost jobs too.
Yeah, yeah. I understand. Right. So because they've lost jobs, they want to save the money for the future, so that actually is better for you. It's amazing watching how this is all playing out in terms of people, what industries are thriving and which industries are just languishing. So it's been very fascinating to watch. So with that, then, if I was, I'm going to put the links to this in the show notes. So if I was a family that wanted to find you, what's the best way to find you?
Well, you can definitely find me at info@lookingforafullride.com. My book website is lookingforafullride.com. Okay. And you can find over 40 blogs on the college recruiting process at rlopezcoaching.com. Currently on our website, we just have where you can sell direct. You can just actually purchase through my website in the US. If you are outside the US, just shoot me an email, info@lookingforafullride.com, and we will get it all processed for you. It's just not all set up through our website. Most of our sales do come from the US. So we have we can definitely do it. We can ship to anywhere in the world. It's just a matter of we gotta chat and make sure we got everything squared away.
Fair enough. Okay, so going back to your teaching career, which you didn't really love, was it a hard decision to leave then? I mean, a lot of teachers don't want to leave because it's so secure and that, there's benefits and healthcare and all that. So tell me about your journey out.
Yeah, I think that was the scariest part about it. And I was going to go on to grad school for 2 years. And so here in the US, graduate assistants, I was going to be teaching some classes and working with their teams and stuff like that. And so I was going to get free tuition to go to grad school for a couple of years and get a very, very tiny stipend. And it was a very big leap of faith to leave teaching, the security of it, all those things. I went to grad school for a couple of years. made about peanuts is the word I would use in terms of as a grad assistant. But it allowed me to step into the next opportunity, have a master's degree to get into college coaching. And then now fast forward into, going from college coaching into, I started my business part-time. And then as I continued to work up, and as my business kind of became more and more demand for my services, so it's kind of a side hustle for a while. And then as I started to make a shift, I realized I need to do this full time. And that was probably the scariest of all, because walking away and saying, oh gosh, okay, how do I make sure I can pay my bills every month? And, I saved up some money just to make sure I was okay. And, I did a couple different things just to create a couple different revenue streams, which I think is really key that a lot of people don't think about, making sure that you have a passive income stream as well as active. So you're not always just trading time for money. I think that's a big key. And, a lot of people who may not come from the business world, my master's is in sports management, so I kind of had a lot of the business side of it. But if you come from just the teaching world, you may not have this perspective of, trying to shift gears and what does it look like to run a business every single day. And I think it's really important to make sure you find a way to have passive income, meaning money comes in while you're sleeping. And what does that look like? Obviously consulting and such is time and it isn't always scalable. And, sometimes it can be. Sometimes you do group consulting and things like that. But I think the big shift for a lot of people in coming out of education world and stepping into the business world is definitely surround yourself with other people who run businesses in a very similar type of niche as you, but not necessarily the same niche. You don't want to be with competitors, but people who may be also in education, or something like along those lines, who may have the same target market. And I think that's one of the things that I got some great advice as I was shifting out of being an education world and coaching world and shifting into business world. Somebody said to me, so figure out 5 people who run businesses who target the same people that you are targeting for your target market, but they wouldn't be competing businesses. So I matched up with somebody who does sports dietitian. I matched up with somebody who does mental side of the game. I matched up with somebody who helps with testing and how do you teach preparing for the tests that you have to take in order to go into college. And, I matched up with someone who does ACL prevention, things like that. And so we started to kind of come together and realized when we all were thinking together and strategically planning what we're going to do with our businesses, it was much more effective. I think that was probably the best words of wisdom I ever had, was find some people who have the same target market and start to think about how you guys can help support each other.
Yeah. Wow. So just take me back for a second. ACL, is that anterior cruciate ligament?
Oh, yes.
I know that from our dog, actually.
Yes. I actually connected with a phenomenal physical therapist, Leslie. She is phenomenal, and she does an online program for ACL prevention. And so how do you, lots of soccer players for sure have this issue.
Yeah. Okay.
But she works with skiers and she works with basketball players and such. Just like, with my books, same idea is, I work with, 19 different sports we have of information we try and help families through. So we all kind of started to think differently and how do we kind of make a shift?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. Okay. So as you were leaving, you were afraid about the financial side. How did you overcome that? I mean, you said you connected with some other like-minded people. What else did you do?
Well, I think, it was sitting down and creating a really good business plan that's going to make, different streams of income, not just relying solely on consulting, not just relying solely on book sales, but making very conscientious decisions of where is my speaking career going to be, and, where is it going to be in terms of consulting, and then what are we going to sell for my books, books, what are we going to sell from, and just really thinking through the business side of it overall, and what's my passion and what do I want to do. And I love working with families. I love watching families go from point A to point B, and it's so fun to watch that process. But I also know that I can reach more people sometimes when I go and do a speaking engagement. Maybe there's 200 people in the audience. And so we can maybe impact 100 kids, that are there with their parents. And so I want to make a huge reach. I want to help as many families as I can, but trying to really balance that out of there's only so much time you have to do individual consulting. And so how do you do that and manage it financially as well and overall? So I think really creating that business plan. What's going to make sense for you if you want to step out and to run your own business? Get a mentor, get somebody who knows business really well and will just kind of help walk you through it. And I think also getting strategic partners of people who have the same target market, I think is really key. And if you can do those things, and then obviously put yourself out there in the media as well. And, you know, had some great success on being on some major radio programs with ESPN as well as Sirius XM. And even prior to my book coming out, there was just some great opportunities we had. And so utilize those and figure out best ways to position yourself properly, you know, and that comes with, if you're going to be in this kind of world and speaking world, and, you know, you have to be willing to do some things to step out of your comfort zone. And, you know, I think that's key as well. And the other words of wisdom I'll tell you is read, and make sure you always have a business book, a leadership book, something that's challenged you to think a little bit differently in your mindset. And definitely pick up the book by Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, for sure.
Oh, yes. Okay. I think that's on my pile of books behind me somewhere.
I can't quite reach it. It's about 10 feet away from me, but it's
really?
right over there.
Awesome. Okay. So Think and Grow Rich. So this is the kind of stuff I'll be putting in the show notes for this episode. So for the listeners, you'll be able to access this information when the episode comes out. Okay. So what transferable skills did you take from teaching into your new roles? Because you're an author, you're a coach, and you're a speaker. That's amazing. What did you take with you from education?
Well, I think, you know, it's the idea is if you can strategize, which every teacher can, you have been planning lesson plans forever, all of your life. You think through things and you process things into a step-by-step process. And if you can take those skills, using a skill, whatever your skill may be, whether, you know, you did art, things like that, you know, maybe you worked in music or something like that, whatever it may be, whether it was math, something like that, maybe you can be in a situation where take those skills and break it down into bite-sized chunks that people can digest. And if that's what your business is going to be, find it and strategize it that way. So one of the things that I knew about myself was I was really good at helping people plan for their future. Well, I worked with college students. I talked about what's your major going to be? And then they would change their major and then they change the major again. And then they keep changing their majors. And so, you know, I utilize that skill of really saying, hey, you know, I know how to help kids strategize. I'm really good at that. How can I help them move on into their lives? And now instead of working with college kids or, you know, with elementary kids that I used to work with, is now I actually was just helping and switching into working with high school kids and walking through the process and really getting into bite-sized chunks. And one of the things that I did was, you know, also I felt pretty comfortable writing. I am not the best writer in the world, I can tell you that, but I felt pretty comfortable writing. I'd worked in my college newspaper and stuff like that. And so I knew I could write pretty well. And so somebody also told me, if you want to start a business, especially in speaking consulting world and being an author, write blogs. And I said, okay. And then I wrote my first blog and it was awful. And then I wrote my second one. It was, if we're talking, you know, let's say my first one was a 0. My second was maybe a 1 or a 2.
Okay.
And they started getting better and better and better. And I realized which ones started to take off. And so I started to use some of the skill set that I had of just being able to write to put into blogs. Now to this day, you will not find the first 5 blogs that I ever wrote anywhere published because I pulled them off of every website possible because they were awful. Yeah. But the idea of, you know, don't be afraid to fail. You're going to fail sometimes and take those steps, I think, is really key. And then connect with other people that are going through the process. And it's really funny because I actually have 3 very close friends who also left the education world and are now running businesses. And we talk about things all the time and saying it. So find a support system who's going to walk you through it too and be able to really help you with it. But I think if you can kind of really digest the idea of you have transferable skills, it's just a matter of thinking through what they are. And so go back to, you know, your personality tests and those career tests you probably took when you were in high school, and go and look at what things come up for you. And one of the things that always came up for me was I'm a really good strategic thinker and I can actually strategically plan. And I felt very comfortable in working with young people. So how do you put those 2 together and then add the sports side of it for me? And it made sense. And so I just really took those skills to be able to take it into the next realm. And then you throw in this whole idea of blogging, and then all of a sudden you become an author too.
Amazing. So has your book grown out of the blog posts, or is it different?
A little bit. It's funny. I actually have a chapter in my book where I did not even plan on this chapter being in my book, but the blog, actually, we put it out there and it got shared 6,000 times. And I was like, oh, like I didn't think it was that good. And then all of a sudden realized it kept getting shared and shared and shared. And I was like, so I actually remember sent an email to my publisher. I go, we need to make a change because this blog actually blew up over the course of probably like 3-4 weeks.
What was it?
And so it was actually on the idea of what parents' role should be in the college recruiting process versus the student's role, what they should be. And so it was a chapter that we had not really anticipated writing, and we literally changed it because we were like, okay, this needs to go in. And so it really did help me shape kind of where I wanted to go as an author, even though some of it was not even planned.
Yeah, great advice. Okay, so I'm just, as you're talking, I'm thinking, what should I include in my book?
We can talk off camera about what that looks like.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, that's awesome. So I mean, I'm still getting out of teaching too. Like I'm on that journey as well. So it's good to hear other people's perspectives. So if you encountered a teacher, hang on, first of all, how long did that process take from when you left teaching and started your own thing, or maybe even at the beginning of starting your own thing while you were still working as a teacher? How long until now?
So I left. So I went from teaching into coaching, and so I was coaching at the college level. And so I did that, and then I actually had taken on an athletic director position at a local church, actually. And so I did that for about 1.5 years while I was getting all the side hustle kind of going. And now we're at about 3.5, 4 years. And the book process took about 2 years of interviews. So you had to still have an income because you weren't getting paid for that process.
Yes.
So, so I did some of that, and then I started getting into more speaking and stuff like that. And I also do some work in leadership development. I am a certified speaker, trainer, and coach for the John Gordon Company, as well as the John Maxwell team. And so I was doing some of that as well on the side, but it was kind of jump starting my speaking. And so, that was probably the first 1.5 years or so. And then we started and during that part, I was also doing some of the book. And then we took another quite a bit in order to write the actual book and get it all finalized. And so in total, probably 3.5, 4 years total. But I stepped into my business full time about 2.5 years ago.
Wow. So that's actually pretty quick. And so without numbers, just, ballpark, have you been able to replace your teaching income?
Yes, we're fine. We're doing fine.
Okay.
Even in the midst of Corona.
Yeah. So in 4 years. So that's pretty impressive, because I know, but it sounds like part of the, I guess your strategy was actually keeping the job while you began, so that you had a buffer, and so that you were able to save some money in order to cope with when you went out completely on your own.
Absolutely. Nice. I think that's really important is make sure you have some cash stored up just in case something happens. My air conditioner blew out, of course, right as I was stepping into this. And, that's a good $5,000, to repair it. I live in Florida. So, which is right now it's 95 degrees. It's essential right now. So, of course, those things happen. But I think make sure that you have yourself set up so you have some cash put away. But also be working and creating things. Get your website going. Create all of your social media, things like that. Do all of those things, your logos, stuff like that, and start connecting with people saying, here's what I want to do by this date. I want to step into this full time. And, grow your social media, grow your LinkedIn, grow your Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, whatever it's, especially where your target market's going to be, grow all of those things while you're still in your job, because it's going to take time. The idea is, when it comes to, especially like for a book, I wrote blogs every single week for almost a year. And the idea was I was trying to build up an audience and a following while I still had a lot of other things set up for me, of income. And so I think the key is if you're going to shift out of teaching, especially if you're single, and I'm single, so like having that, we don't have a spouse to kind of fall back on if things don't go well, I think is really key is start doing all the things in order to get a following, especially if you're going to go to speaking world or, author consulting type things. You're going to go to that world, build up your following and the people that are going to really be helped by what you're doing. And if you provide value and you do give a lot of things away for free early on, especially. And, everyone says, oh, you wrote all these blogs. Do you have them all for free on your website? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Because I know what my strategy is in order to, create the business I need to. And so, set up those things, do as much learning as you can about the social media and the marketing that's involved in it too. And like I said, surround yourself with some people who are business people, who are business savvy, who get it, who understand digital media and what to do, and get yourself out of your comfort zone and step into it for sure. It takes some time, and you do have to make sure that you can pay your bills while you're doing a lot of it, because you're going to be working a lot of hours. It's not going to be a freeloading type of situation for sure.
Yeah. So given that it sounds like you're working very hard right now, are there any regrets about leaving teaching?
Leaving teaching, I don't think so. Leaving college coaching, it is hard because I was very used to having 30 college girls that were my kids pretty much. And so I think that's probably the hardest thing. But it's fun because now they've graduated, a bunch of them are married, having kids of their own. I keep in touch with a lot of them. So I have literally hundreds of alumni who played for me that are out there, and I keep in touch with them. So it's great to have those relationships. So I think that's the thing I miss. Just because you grow really close to your college athletes. But now it's great to see them, and some of them are doing some amazing things. Some are police officers, some of them are nurses working on the front lines right now, and some are physical therapists, and, some are businesses leaders, some are teachers, and I love seeing what they're doing. So it's great to have that part of it. So I'm still in touch with many of them, but I miss the day-to-day of having my 30 girls with me for sure.
Yeah, those relationships.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Renee, as we wrap this up today, what's the legacy that you want to leave in the world?
Wow. I think I want to be able people to walk alongside me and me to walk alongside them, and that they realize that I'm here to help them through a difficult, challenging process that I know the X's and O's to. I know the steps in order to help them with the college recruiting process, or maybe it's in working with leadership developments programs that I do as well. And, I want to leave people in a better spot. Strategically, we planned to get them to that spot, and we help walk them through that. It's about the journey. It's not necessarily about the destination, but I think that's the key. Is I want to continue to be able to have the same types of passion of why I went into education. Was I wanted to help kids move forward in what they were doing, and now it just looks a little different than what it used to. But I just love the opportunity to be able to have that legacy and add value to people and walk them through the next level. And if kids go to college and get a college degree because of the steps we took, I feel like I've made a difference, and it's going to be, and there could be generational differences that happen as well too. So I love that part of the legacy to be able to leave.
Renee Lopez, thank you so much for coming on the Get Out of Teaching podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me. I look forward to connecting with all of your listeners in the future.
You've been listening to the Get Out of Teaching podcast, presented by Larksong Enterprises, with your host, Elizabeth Diakos. Do you know someone else who could benefit from hearing more stories of hope and transition from teachers all around the world? Please take a moment to share this and other episodes via your podcast app. Each share helps me reach listeners just like you who can benefit from this content. The Get Out of Teaching podcast is proud to be part of the Experts on Air podcast network. For show notes and other resources, please visit larksong.com.au/podcast.